How are there? My name is James Komolafe, and what a pleasure welcoming you back again on this weekly series from the Behavioral Resources Hub, the School of Articulation and Behavioral Alignment Resources, also known as the SABA Resources, holds a weekly episode on depression. Now that you know too well about the 10 stages of depression, I'd like to use this forum to let you know that depression, especially stress-related depression, clinical depression, does not just happen without a definite plan, whether you are aware of it or not. So we'd like to take on a topic today titled Depression and the Theory of Permission. Depression don't just happen until you permit it. Depression caused by stress will never force its way down anyone. Know this today. Gaining entry into a life follows the theory of permission. So what's the theory of permission all about? Before you can say, oh, I'm depressed or not. In real life, the law of attraction holds so strongly and granting permission to the entry of depression across its 10 stages. And you know what? What you admire, you attract. You attract the value of your most dominant thought as well. And wherever your attention goes, there your energy flows. Whatever you think about so frequently, whether good, bad, or the ugly, will always expound in your mind. And whatever you want, wants you. All these are akin to the theory of permission. Talking about permission, we look at 7 issues for which, when you permit depression, you grant depression authority to manifest, to wield its influence over you, beginning from the overdue. Of course, you know that. You are also granting approval to all its dictate. You are signing and assenting to a bill proposed by depression. You are giving a go-ahead to depression to do whatever he has planned to do within you. You are accepting the verdict of depression and consenting to all its rules and dictates when you permit depression. I'd like you to know again that depression is a master leveler of great intention, seeking a marriage of convenience from its victims. It does not wield influence immediately, but persuades with simple analogy and impression in order to make an entry into one. So depression, you want to understand it better, perceive it as an individual seeking a relationship with another. So it's a marriage of convenience, which is a form of an unethical marriage other than the reasons for real marriage. It's a marriage built on falsehood and deception, where the parties involved are neither sincere nor real to each other. Depression works that way exactly, to deceive its captor in order to destroy them at the end. In the ordinary sense of it, depression caused by certain realities from the external point of view will never force its way down anybody. So besides furthering its dimension in a 10-phase operation, depression influences people into that unequal marriage through certain negative means and methods. We'd like to discuss those ways by which you consciously and unconsciously yield to the nudgings of depression so that you can know the mode of operation in a life from the beginning to the end. In life, as one feels it, so it is. An individual is nothing different from his thought pattern. And so the rope analysis of depression is first a thing of the mind, followed by its effect all over the personality involved, from the mind to very critical stages of influence. Therefore, depression may not appear critical at first, let alone having a hold on the individual at the beginning. In depression cycle, attention is attraction. So the more you keep thinking and putting your mind on the issues of negative influences, then depression begins to gain attention there. A trail going on within may never be a trace noticeable on the outside. That is why you need to speak up and out when in the saddle of depression. Depression, is a strange personality seeking to replace the individual moral code through diplomacy, falsehood, and tricks. This is simply to change the order on ground and to institute a completely strange order. Depression on a normal scale works through certain appeals in the following order as denoted by the level of permission. The more you allow depression to wield its influence, the more the devastating results across its 10 stages. So let's look at 10 ways by which you can permit or allow depression to gain an entry and influence your decision and your position. The first way is the rigid standpoint. And in the rigid standpoint, an individual develops a stiff resistance to depression waves. You are simply unperturbed by the urges and tendencies of depression through your thoughts, insinuations, feelings, and your imaginations. You are simply unruffled at the point of supposed contact. From overdue to overthrow, you simply ignore depression and its waves. This is when you are rigid, which is the first point. The second one is the look possibility. At this stage, depression has caught an attention, and the law of attraction says wherever your attention goes, there your energy flows. Depression has arrested your attention and getting some level of observation from you at point 2 when you look. So the look strategy is an attention-catching stuff of depression. Then the third level is the dull moment. From your look, it is possible to go down the drain, and the power of look has a weakening effect on the mind so as to alter its cohesion. So what you can affect in depression is minimal at this place. Instead, depression begins to create a dull outlook within you. And this is the initial entry point where dullness begins to affect your smartness and your promptness to some certain issues. No matter your percentage, preparation, you just discover that at this moment, your mood is affected and impacted negatively because you are already dull by the reason of constant looking at the issue on ground that depression is placing before you. Then the fourth position is the unstable position. And you see, in all of this mode of permission, the more you go, the deeper it becomes. So now you are unstable at point number 4. Dullness changes shape on the outside into instability of thoughts, feelings, emotions, and action. And this is a sign of depression afflicting its victim and making him or her a subject to an unfavorable dictates. So check your personal inner dispute and reflect on the root cause. Now, at point number 5 is the tolerate session. You just begin to discover at this point that depression has not only scored an entry into the mind, its impulses and impressions have been accommodated and entertained. So you tolerate it. So depression has gained a sitting here. And to tolerate simply means to allow, welcome, and then adore depression. So depression has a way of painting a picture for acceptance here through obvious reasoning. And it has the capacity to explain things away and show you how you must welcome him as your new guest. So this is the point of toleration of depression at point number 5. Then at point number 6, that is the point of yielding. How will you have a guest that you welcome to your living apartment after tolerating, and you will not yield to its influence and interact amicably? So at point 6 is the point of yielding. So at this point, depression is not only timely tolerated, but given a room for expression in the form of inner feelings, the negative thoughts, and the dangerous appeals. It has a way of convincing its capture why certain things must be accepted and adopted for a way of life. And it is at this pivotal place of internal obedience and allegiance to a false evidence that depression has a foothold on its capture. So you see, you need to know where depression is gaining an upper hand, mostly within. Where are you yielding already? That is point 6 on the level of permission. Then at point 7, the inherent depression now creates a damp within the mind that makes its victim to begin to float on top. So it's the floating mode at point 7. And in this floating strategy, it is a situation where the welcome visitor takes over the whole apartment and even go ahead to become the host. What does depression do at this level? It has a way of dampening its victim with the negative flood, so that the victim begins to float on top of the depressive agent. So what you notice here is that each vibration and action is benchmarked by depression. There is the absence of a level playing ground for the victim at this point, because he has begun to float on the damp of depression. And then point number 8 is the point of diving. The individual not only float on the surface waters of depression within, he begins to release his own energy into the waves of depression already mounting within. So the diving dimension of depression is a sorry stage where its victim is not only floating on top of depression, but diving in its torrents. And like I did say, energy is released into depression. So what you notice is mutual interest and coincidence, where you have both offer and acceptance at both ends. So the capture in person begins to test the depth of the ongoing depression in order to find suitable facts fit to thrive within the influence of depression. So at this point, energy is released into depression, and there is a mingling between depression and the individual. At point 9 is the point of swimming. You are not only diving as a victim of depression, but you are beginning to test the various depth and height, width of depression mode. You are beginning to get used to that system, to that new order, and becoming gradually one and the same with depression mode within. Deviant behavior becomes the order of the day here. Evil tendencies and all kinds of behavioral violations begin to show up at this point of swimming. You are testing the ground, testing the depth, and the shallow waters of depression within. And last but not the least is the point of absolute takeover, point 10. This is the climax of the operation of depression. And at this stage, depression is in the center stage of this dictation and then decision making. In absolute terms, its desires are obeyed and carried out to the letter without weighing whether it is reasonable or not. The victim has no say of his or her own. He is completely overpowered to fulfill any obligation as required by the new host, Mr. Depression. So what do you do here? You need to know to what extent you have gone. How have you allowed depression a permission until you yield your ground, especially in stress-related depression? Depression will never go too far with you. Don't allow depression. Don't permit it. When you give depression an inch, it's going to take 10 meters. You give depression a meter, it's going to take a mile. So watch what you think, watch how you think, what you do, and the dominant thoughts that frequent your mind. Get out of the negative today. Never allow depression a foothold in your mind. You allow depression, it's going to start from the point of overdue, and before you know it, from overdue to overcome. From overcome, will begin to overturn in order to overrun, to overwhelm, overpower, and all the rest until eventual overthrow. This is never your portion. Now that you know, do the right thing. What stage are you on depression scale? Where have you permitted depression to have its full course? You can come out of it if only you speak up and speak out. reach us today on Depression Line, and we will attend to you in a matter of moments. You can call this number +234 8035 999 220. Thank you so very much. You can also send a WhatsApp message to this same number as we handle cases having to do with depression. Depression works in stages, but it will never work by forcing itself on anybody until it gets a window through your permission. Then it will never go far. Make the opportunity available to train, equip, assess, and treat every ugly incidences of depression around you. Thank you so very much, and see you next time. Cheers.